set aside.
We call it,
I've seen it.
call it like planning your own career and whatnot.
They don't always
Rather
talk.
than someone else being responsible to that for yourself.
Yep, take
I
responsibility.
think we have a pretty good
Okay,
system
everybody,
here.
it's 5:31. We're going to get started.
We have our time.
I was waiting for a lull in the conversation, but it just kept going. Okay, welcome to our May 7th meeting for our Committee of Adjustments. The municipality of Strathroy-Caradoc acknowledges that it is located on Treaty 21 territory, and we are thankful to the generations of people who've taken care of this land, including the Chippewas of the Thames First Nation, the Bunds Delaware First Nation, and the United Nation of the Thames. For a roll call, it goes to Sasha.
Thank you, Chair. My name is Sajal Osman, and I'm the Acting Secretary Treasurer for the Committee of Adjustment tonight. I will be hosting the meeting and managing participants. And committee members joining us this evening include Member Kumar, Member Bayan, Councillor Palkman, Deputy Mayor McGuire, Member Terpstra, who's also our chair. Municipal staff in attendance this evening are Alyssa Soldo, planner with the County of Middlesex, Jake DeRitter, manager of Growth and Development, and Melanie from the Legal and Legislative Services team. Tonight we have 3 applications to be heard by the committee. The chair will introduce each application and provide the applicant and agent an opportunity to speak to the application. The planner will follow with the report. The public will then be invited to make comments or ask questions about the application. The chair will then call upon the committee to ask questions and make comments before the chair calls for a vote on the application. Once a decision is made, there's a 20-day appeal period from the date of decision for minor variances and 20 days from date of notice of decision for consent. If anyone wishes to be notified of the decision, you can make a request today or make a written request following this meeting. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Sasha. Now, the approval of the agenda. I'm looking for a recommendation for approval of the agenda. Steve, seconded by Mike, in favor? Good, that carries. Any declaration of pecuniary interest by anyone in the committee? Seeing none, we'll move on to the approval of the minutes. So minutes for April 2nd. Looking for a recommendation for approval. Dale, seconded by Steve. All in favor? And that carries. Good. Then our first submission for consideration is an application for consent B5-2026. It's at 9334 Glendon Drive. And I'm going to go to Alyssa to start that one.
Thank you, Chair. You may have received an email earlier today about this application, so I'm just going to speak a little bit further about it. So there was some new information that was received yesterday from the agent on this application that affects this proposal. It was discovered that the 2 parcels, the 2 neighboring parcels owned by the same owner, are actually one lot. That was just discovered by their lawyer. So as such, the current application for a minor boundary adjustment includes incorrect information and kind of an incorrect way to go about this. So staff have been in contact with the applicant and have been asked to defer the recommendation report to give them time to amend the application. They would have to go the route of a surplus farm dwelling route, so we just need to make sure that we look at it through those policies, through that lens, and ensure that everyone's on the same page and all the information is up to date. So therefore, I'm recommending that the conditions memo be received just for information and that the application for consent B5-2026, previously brought from last meeting, just be deferred to allow for those amendments to be made and brought forward to a future meeting. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for that. Questions first? Yeah, Mike?
So I'll make the motion to defer this. However, deferral requires a date. So do you want where we may? So it could go to June, July, August. How far out would you like to go?
Through the chair, it should be a simple conversation and update of information, so I'd be comfortable to put it on the next meeting in June.
The June meeting. I'll defer, or I'll make the motion to defer this matter to the June meeting of the Committee of Adjustment.
Okay, good. Do I have support for that? Randy, all in favor? Good, that carries. I also, for this one, yeah, that's just review for information, so that's good, right? Got that? Good, okay. So then we'll move on to the next one. Wait, there's someone online. Did they want to comment about this one? Agent Sandy, I think, is online. Maybe not.
Good evening.
Oh, there's someone. Yeah, any comments you need to make on that?
No, thank you very much. I was just here, Alyssa suggested I attend, but no, I very much appreciate the deferral.
Okay, good, excellent. Then we'll move on to application for consent. This is B2, B6, 2026. It's 7222 Walker's Drive. Owners is Kirk Zavitz and agent Courtney Sinclair. I don't know if you're in the audience today. Yes? Good, okay. Well, I'll have Alyssa do a report and then you can add any comments if you like.
Thank you, Chair. This application before committee is to execute a surplus farm dwelling severance where the owner is proposing to retain the farm parcel and sever the residential lot. The subject property is located on the northwest side of Walker's Drive, northeast of the intersection at Glen Oak Road. The land as a whole is 19.85 hectares with 236 meters of frontage. A portion of the lands are regulated by the St. Clair Region Conservation Authority, and another portion of the lands are identified as significant woodlands within the Middlesex Natural Heritage System study. The lands to be severed are 1.02 hectares in size with 60 meters of frontage, containing a single detached dwelling connected to private services and a garden shed. Staff are requesting through conditions that the severed lands be reduced to only contain the dwelling and private services and be under 1 hectare in size. This also ensures that the lot is subject to the maximum accessory building size provisions and other provisions that are appropriate for rural residential lots in the A2 zone. The lands to be retained are 18.83 hectares in size with 176 meters of frontage, containing lands for agricultural production and woodlands. No comments were provided by the public prior to the development of this report. Provided agency comments include the Middlesex County Safety and Standards Officer providing 911 addressing comments, and the St. Clair Region Conservation Authority noting that they have no concerns with the proposal. The Provincial Planning Statement, Middlesex County Official Plan, Strathroy-Caradoc Official Plan, and Zoning Bylaw all permit surplus farm dwelling severances when criteria is met. The lots will be required to be rezoned as a condition of the consent application. Given the above, I am recommending approval of consent application B6 2026, subject to the conditions provided in the report. Thank you.
Good, thank you. And the owners of the property, do you want to make any comments?
Yes. Good evening. My name is Courtney Sinclair. I'm the agent for the applicants. I did want to make a couple comments, in particular in relation to proposed condition 4. Proposed condition 4 requests that the lands to be severed be reduced to include the area only required for the dwelling and its services and be less than 1 hectare in size. Now currently this proposed severed parcel is 1.02 hectares. I just want to point out that there is not really any opportunity to reduce the size of this proposed parcel. So on the easterly side, the lot line follows the existing lot line of the adjacent lot. So we can't bring that lot line in without creating a retained parcel between those two. That would just be no good for anyone. In relation to the westerly proposed lot line, we also can't move that lot line in without cutting off a portion of the laneway or the hydro service that runs underground from the road to the dwelling. In the rear of the dwelling, you'll see in the diagram that there's a septic system there, and the lot is only big enough to contain that septic system. It does not take any other extra lands out of production. So I've spoken to the applicant, and obviously the dimensions of this lot are based on a sketch using overhead aerial mapping through GIS. And so the dimensions are approximate and the area is approximate. To the extent that he can reduce the area of the lot to less than 1 hectare, he will certainly try to do so. However, if that's not possible, while keeping the septic system within the lot, keeping the hydro service within the lot, and keeping the existing driveway within the lot, we don't think that he should be held to the standard. And so we respectfully request that condition 4 be revised to not include the requirement that the lot be less than 1 hectare. And again, if he can do that, he will, but that shouldn't be held against him to the extent that that's not possible.
Okay, thank you for that. Questions or comments from committee members? Yes, Brian.
Thank you. I'll start this. I drive around Caradoc an awful lot with what I do as a farmer. There is a ton of places that are located within a bush that are not an acre. when I look at this, if we're severing off this house and you're gonna send the rest of this bush, which I believe is protected, is what I heard, and that they had no problem with the initial proposal. If it were me, I would send the whole bush with the house, because if you send that with acreage, as a farmer, if I'm gonna pay 30,000 for a workable acre, I'm gonna be working it. I do think we will do a disservice in sending it with the farmland, and there's a good chance that that bush no longer exists if we don't actually probably include more than even what he was asking for. I would put the whole tree line in there. It would be my suggestion with this for number 4. Now, I know that might not fit all the proper protocol, but I think if we want to make it so that it works for everybody and it does conserve the trees, and it would not be any different than there's a place on the corner of Innadale and Glen Oak that is roughly 6 acres with a house and a bush in it. I can give you more examples if you need, but it's not uncommon to see this where they've severed the bush lot off with the house from the workable land. So that would, I'll let it go around, but that would be my motion.
Okay, thank you for that. Any other comments? Mike?
I completely understand what Councillor Derbyshire is saying. So I'm just reviewing policy and regulations. And the one that I just came up with quick was section 4.5.3.4, for the record, of the county official plan. And to read from it, it says, plan indicates that consents to sever a residence surplus to a farm operation as a result of a farm consolidation may be permitted, provided the residence was built at least 10 years prior, and I'm sure that's the case, otherwise this wouldn't be in front of us because staff would catch it. The new lot will be limited to the minimum size needed to accommodate the use and appropriate sewage and water services. And then it goes on to say, and that the new residential dwellings are prohibited on any vacant remnant parcel of farmland created by the severance, which we do on all of these. So it talks about the Strathroy-Caradoc official plan speaks similar language. And I believe the PPS does also, that being the provincial planning statement. Alyssa and Jake would be the experts in the room on that. So understanding about the bush, but I think, in my opinion, these consents have become strictly legislative, and I don't think we can get around it because we then be going outside the county official plan and likely Strathroy's and probably the PPS, unless I read further, I won't be able to say, but I understand why staff have put that in there because that's the rules.
Just turned everybody off. There you go. Steve was up next.
Yes, thank you. I was looking at it from a slightly different way. I get what Councillor Derbyshire is stating. However, I think that the farmer is more likely to protect the trees than perhaps someone who moves out from the city and says, oh, I want to clear spots so that I can set up a golf hole on my property or something. So I try to think of how we can reword number 4 because of the unique situation here, which might be rather than and less than 1 hectare in size, read small as possible to accommodate the driveway, the power, septic, and current property lines. I don't know if that would identify something for you that you could make it be as small as possible. That's my thoughts.
Yeah, I'll go back to Mike.
So in response to that, may I suggest on item 4 then, if we took the language directly from the county official plan, which would be a new, I guess it would be the severed lot will be limited to a minimum size needed to accommodate the use and appropriate sewage and water services. That's language right from the county official plan.
I would include hydro because there's been a number of times where we've seen that hydro lines have had to be moved to be retained within the property lines.
Okay, so if it said, we're just bouncing that back and forth, but again, I'll go back to that language. So when it says an appropriate sewage, water, and hydro services. We capture all three.
So what about the property line on the north side? Is that the north side of the property or the east side? Where the, yeah, so you've got the yellow line that comes in to meet the red line, right? So that I'm assuming is why you're on that property line, is that correct?
That runs adjacent to the existing
Yeah.
property lines.
And I get it, you can't have a little sliver of land in between the two, because that would create a problem as well. So do we need to include that boundary in the wording, or are you confident that we would fit within the Planning Act based on what the Deputy Mayor is suggesting?
I'm going to start, and Alyssa can jump in. The intention here is just for policy. So if they show that the septic system needs to be that size, it is that size, that's where it is, and they can only have 1.02 hectares, we would just clear the condition as is. The intention is not to stop this entirely. If they show the septic system's there and that's what it is, then it moves forward with the size that they're currently proposing, 1.02. It's just, the condition's there really just to protect the policy, but we're talking 200 square meters here. It's not a large amount. It's not gonna significantly alter the proposal one way or the other.
I would,
Yes.
if I may, thank you. I would just suggest we still need to address, because section 4 as written specifies it must be reduced to less than 1 hectare. I don't think we can leave it as it is. We have to open it to language that allows, and I'm sorry, I forget your name, pardon me, but the agent.
Courtney.
Pardon?
Thank you. Courtney.
Courtney, thank you. That would allow them to achieve what they want and for staff to accept it. Because otherwise the condition says if they don't meet the 1 acre or less, you can't accept it.
No, but this, yeah.
I go, why are we here? Are we not committee of adjustment? So if 1.2 or 1.02 hectares is what they need to cover the stuff, that is what it says in there. It says water and sewer will be included. So if they need 1.2 hectares, I'd prefer we deal in acres, but if you need hectares, then wouldn't that be what it is? That's the smallest minimum amount if we're working off of what this is. To me, it's ridiculous that you're gonna hack this down to where it runs right down the side of his house and leave the rest of it with the rest of that farmland. And you don't think that's gonna become a problem?
But that's not what.
That's not what's happening. That's not what this.
No, I know what you're doing. We're going through this as if it was, if this is a legal document, then why are we here? We're here making they've come and asked for more acres than what is provided. So they're asking us for more acres.
Right, but very slightly, right? We're not taking 5 hectares, we're doing.
But whether we're asking for 1 or 7, we're making an adjustment. That's my point. If we're following it letter of the law, then we don't need to sit here.
Yeah.
We're making an adjustment. So if
But we're on a consent application.
Yeah.
We're not doing adjustments. This is a consent application.
is this not a farm severance?
Yeah. So it's a consent application
Yes.
pursuant to the provincial planning statement.
Well, then it doesn't even make it here. Then he can't do it. Like, why it would be approved then, if it doesn't follow the rules, why is it here? Like, this is the problem I have with all of this stuff is it's come here for an adjustment, right?
But I would just say it's not the language of the adjustment. All I'm trying to do is allow them to facilitate this and satisfy the PPS, the county plan, and the Strathroy plan. And because Courtney, the agent, said, well, these are rough numbers because we're doing an overhead view. It hasn't been surveyed yet. So we're not 100% sure exactly where the numbers lie. It could be under a hectare. It could be slightly more than a hectare. Right now, we're using 1.02. All I'm saying is let them do what they want to do with the minimum, using the language in the county official plan. Take the minimum that you need to ensure that water, sewer, and hydro are captured inside of that lot. And then that allows Jake to satisfy it. It allows Alyssa from the county to satisfy it. It allows Courtney to satisfy it, and allows these people to go ahead and do what they want to do.
If the rules are what they are, why are we here? I'm still not finding, so we're talking about a small, minute thing, but we're using these exact guidelines to do it. So to me, whether we're adjusting 0.2 of an acre or hectare or 3 hectares, we're deciding to give them more than what this is.
The word adjustment isn't the correct word to use. We're the committee of adjustment, but it's a consent application. It has to follow.
But it doesn't follow it. So then we have to deny it, even though it says at the top we're going to approve it. So if it doesn't fit the mold, what I'm saying is, why is it here then? If it's not for us to adjust the rule. If the rule is it has to be under 1 acre and we're saying, or hectare, and we're going above 1 hectare, we're trying to fit it within these rules, but if it fit in the rules, we wouldn't need to be here.
But as Courtney has explained it as well, right? Just the drawing of what we need today may be 0.2 over, or 0.02 over what we need according to the county plans, right? So we're just answering that today, that if that happens, are we okay with it? I think that we are.
So, yeah, where does the 1 hectare come from? Because I don't see it in the PPS, the county plan, or the Strathroy plan, but I haven't read it defined. So where does the 1 hectare come from that you're requesting them to be under?
Through the chair, it is stated in the accessory building provisions for the A2 zone, which was what any surplus farm dwelling severance is rezoned to make sure that they have some kind of limit on their accessory building provisions. If it's over that hectare, then there's no maximum size provision, and that's kind of where that 1 hectare comes from. And it just comes from precedence from every other surplus farm dwelling severance we've done. We've always just asked for it to be 1 hectare.
Okay, so I'm troubled when we use the language that we always do something. I always get troubled with that language because that sets no standard. So the 1 hectare comes from policy or bylaw of Strathroy-Caradoc is what you're referring to?
Through the chair, correct. It's in the Strathroy-Caradoc zoning bylaw underneath the accessory building provisions.
So that's what we're stepping out of, a zoning bylaw, right? Which we're allowed to do at this committee. We're allowed to step outside of a zoning bylaw, I believe. Or does that have to go to council? Are we sitting at the wrong board?
Through the chair, it's if you'd like to make a recommendation to change that condition in terms of the size, then you can do so.
Go ahead.
I think we can solve the matter by just dropping it in less than 1 hectare in size. It reads that the lands to be severed be reduced to include area only required for the dwelling and its services and less than 1 hectare in size. And if I heard the description properly, all the services are on the side of the property where the driveway is. So I think we could satisfy the conditions by just dropping that 1 hectare in size, and we may run into a problem later if somebody decides to build a great big shed or something, but I think in this case there's an anomaly that was created probably by a previous severance on the right-hand side of that property. So we're already dealing with a hiccup. So I would make the motion that we approve this with the change in condition number 4 that drops the end less than 1 hectare in size.
Okay, do I have support for that?
I have a friendly amendment I want to ask.
Okay,
So you're still leaving in the to be reduced? I think that should be removed. Just that the lands are to include the dwelling and its services. May not be able to be reduced.
Well, it's being reduced by the property lines that are there already.
No, because the application is for 1.02 and you're saying it has to be reduced, and I'm saying it may not be reduced. All I'm saying is get rid of the terms to be reduced and just say that the land's to be severed
I agree to that.
to include area only required for dwelling and its services. Done.
okay,
I agree to that.
agree with that? Okay.
I'll second it.
And Mike is
Thank you.
seconding. All in favor? That carries. Okay, thank you. 5.3. So we're moving on to 5.3. It's an application for minor variance A9-2026. This is at 570 Dewan Street. That's here in Strathroy. And the owners are Robert and Sarah Baruch. Did I get that right or did I butcher it? They're here? Good. Welcome. Melissa, if I can have you go for your report first.
Thank you, Chair. The minor variance application before committee this evening is seeking relief from section 4.22 of the zoning bylaw to permit an accessory building lot coverage of 113% of the ground floor area of the dwelling, whereas a maximum 80% is permitted. The application will facilitate the construction of an 80.2 square meter accessory structure in the rear yard of the subject property. The subject property is located on the west side of Dewan Street, southwest of the intersection at Pennell Lane and Victoria Street in Strathroy. The property is approximately 2,198.18 square meters in size, with 20.7 meters of frontage along Dewan Street. The property contains a single detached dwelling on municipal services and 2 accessory structures, being a detached garage and a garden shed. No comments were provided by the public prior to the preparation of this report. The St. Clair Region Conservation Authority commented that they have no concerns with the proposed minor variance. I reviewed the application against the 4 tests of the Planning Act, and as indicated in the report, it's staff's opinion that this application does meet those 4 tests. As such, I'm recommending that minor variance application A9-2026 be approved. Thank you.
Thank you, Alyssa. Any comments from the owners? No? Any comments from committee members? Steve?
This is more just of a practical issue, so I'm assuming it's a garage that's on so effectively cuts access off to your new building. However, there are garage doors on your new building, so are you making the garage so you can go right through it, or?
Yeah, I'm gonna drive through the garage to get into the other one.
Okay. That was the only question I had.
Okay, good. Mike?
I think it's a great use of these large lots. We've talked about this many times at the Committee of Adjustment for minor variances. So I will make that motion that A9-2026 be approved subject to the conditions. And those are stormwater management be dealt with on site.
And Steve seconds it, right? You're
Yes,
waving
please.
in the background there?
Yep.
All in favor? And that carries. Thank you. Number 6, announcements or inquiries by members. Any questions? No? Other business? Back to Jake.
Thank you, Chair. Just wanted to provide the committee a quick update on 106 Front Street. That was an application for consent that the committee had heard some time ago. It was appealed by the landowner, and that appeal has now been settled. So one of the bigger contentions there was the parking in the rear. So it's been reconfigured. There's no tandem parking spaces back there anymore. So the lots and the parking has been reconfigured with easements and stuff. So yeah, it's all been sorted out through the appeal.
Good, thank you for that.
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
Which property has the easement?
So the existing house will have parking in the rear parking lot, and that existing house has an easement across that parking lot. So they have 2 spaces on the one corner of the property with an easement over it, and then there's a separate easement over the access as well. So they have, the existing house has access over the parking lot, and then those 2 spots right behind the house.
Yep.
How many units in the end will the new building have?
6.
6?
Yes, there's 6.
6, okay. All right. Schedule for meetings is listed there. Next one is Thursday, June the 4th. No other comments? Then I'm looking for a recommendation to adjourn the meeting. From Randy, seconded by Dale. All in favor? Thank you, and we're adjourned.
It's not worth the drive in.
That is what it is.